Welcome back to Arnold's Mobile Bike Repair. On this video, we are going to continue upgrading the drivetrain on my son Drew's bike, where we are upgrading from 30 speeds, or from 24 speeds overall up to 30. I already went through and put the drive side of the crank arm back on, and this one's a little bit different. It uses a BB30 style tool instead of the one with the socket. If you remember from the previous video, we had the one on the socket that fits the old square tapered sealed bottom bracket. So once we have the bottom bracket in, spaced properly and tight, we can install the non-drive crank arm and the things that go along with it. On the non-drive crank arm, it actually has a special tooth on there so that you line it up correctly. So we can get this on, once I can line it up. And then there is a nut that goes in the middle to set the preload of that non-drive crank arm. Sometimes I have issues installing this. You want to make sure you get it straight because it is a plastic nut. If you install it crooked, you can cross thread it. There we go. So take your time with that. Make sure that you don't install it cross thread. You don't want to have an issue, you have to order another nut. So we can go through and run that up until it's nice and snug. Our cranks move like they should. Now we can tighten our crank arm bolts. Our crank arm bolts should be tightened evenly and have a torque of 12 to 14 Newton meters. So for that, I have a pretty standard low-end Diamondback torque wrench that actually came with my new bike. And we'll just turn that until we read that 12 on that Newton meters. And that'll verify that our cranks are on correctly. 12 Newton meters is actually pretty darn tight. There's 12 on that bolt. So once we get these tightened up, that will allow us, all right. Now we're properly torqued there. Our crank arms spin like they should. We are well on our way to upgrading to 30 speeds. I'm going to spin this bike around, change up my tools, and I'll be right back. All right, the next thing we're going to do is install this new rear derailleur. Goes here on the derailleur hanger, and quickly about the derailleur hanger. This bike, as you can see, it's silver, and is a replaceable derailleur hanger. When you're purchasing a new bike for yourself, that is something to look for during the purchase of a new bike. You take a crash, you knock your bike over in the garage, that derailleur hits the ground and it can bend the hanger. On a lot of bikes, that is replaceable. You get into some of your lower end bikes, it'll be one piece made onto the frame, and while it can be straightened, after you straighten them a couple times, they become very weak and brittle. So a bike with a non-replaceable derailleur hanger, once that breaks off, basically the frame is no good. We have no way to mount the rear derailleur anymore. So that is something to look for on bike purchases. New derailleur goes on pretty easily. We line it up and tighten it down. That is our new derailleur, 10-speed rear derailleur, all mounted up. Hanging the derailleur is the easy part. The difficult part is getting the end points adjusted on it so that it doesn't overshift on either end, causing the chain to jump off, and getting the cable tension right so that everything shifts smoothly between the gears. So hanging is the easy part. We're going to get that new cassette put on the rear wheel. I'm going to go ahead and move this bike out of the way, do a couple things, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, welcome back to the cassette installation portion of the video. I know I didn't show you how to remove that on the last video. Basically, removing a cassette is just the opposite steps of installing one. The only specialty tool you need is called a chain whip, and this allows you to just use the tool to grip the chain so that you can break the center nut loose, so you can hold the cassette. When installing a cassette, this is a Shimano Type 3 hub. There's teeth all the way around this hub. I'm not sure how well it shows up on camera, but most of them are the same size. There's a narrow one and then a wide groove next to it. And that'll be the same on all of the teeth on your cassette. There'll be the narrow one and the wide groove. Basically, you find that narrow and you line it up. I like to put the wheel at a little bit more of an angle so that it holds everything on. So I keep continuing to find that. So also, this is a Sunrace cassette, and it is definitely a few different pieces. The 8-speed cassette we took off comes off in 2 to 3 pieces. This one is built a little more, nicely. It's all aluminum back in here, all red, and it does come apart into more pieces. It also has the gears that all stack on individually, but they all will only go on one way. I guess you could mess up the order, but the shim goes on, then we just keep stacking gears. But they'll only, like I said, they'll only go on one direction, so you got to find the right spot. There it is. Install that. 13 tooth and the 11 tooth first gear. Sticks out just a little bit. We got to find the there's the narrow guy. All right, so once we have all of our gears stacked on, we then have our retainer nut. Our retainer nut goes on. And then again, another specialty tool is involved. This is a Park Tool Freewheel 5 or FR5. This is the most common tool for removing freewheels from Park Tools. So you turn that down until it's tight. I get out the big 1-inch Craftsman wrench. Nice and snug. It doesn't have to be animal tight because it's not going to come loose. And now we have that new cassette on there, upgraded to that big 42 tooth first gear. All right, so in this video, we went through and installed the cranks, put the new cassette on the rear wheel, and I quickly want to put the handlebars back together. So first things first, we got to get our shifters. Shifters go on first. And we slide them in and slide them out of the way. So our shifters go on first, then our brake levers go on. And again, we just want to slide them in too far, just slide them out of the way. We don't want to start putting set screws in and tighten everything down until we get our grips on. So with our grips, just a little shot of water. If we use soap now, the grip may never dry. So just a little shot of water. Most of the time I'll take my finger, dry it a little bit, maybe smear it into the other grip. Just a little shot of water. Look at our grips. Get them on, line them up, find the ends. Get them nice and straight, however you want your grip on. These are Yeti brand grips, and I like to line the words up. I'm a little bit goofy that way. I like everything to be nice and neat and straight. So if you're gonna ride good, you gotta look good. Style is everything. So we'll get our grips lined up. And on these particular grips, we just have push-in style end caps. Actually, see, this one's so wet that it doesn't even want to stay in place. So it's a delicate balance. If you want to get it on, get it straight, but then have it be dry enough that it wants to stay in place. And again, the grip will dry internally and set up. So now it's about putting things kind of where we want them. Now this becomes a rider preference thing. As we talked in previous videos about seat height and seat angle, a lot of that becomes rider preference. So what I do is I just try to line everything up pretty neat. And then before Drew really rides his bike, he'll come out and sit on it. We'll put it in a stand and he'll sit on it just so that he can make sure he likes where everything's at. So that he feels like he can reach his grips. He feels like he can reach his shifters, reach his levers. I guess he can reach his grips no matter what. He's got pretty long arms. So, but just try to line everything up, make it nice and even. Get these tight, but not too tight. You still, especially when you're riding a mountain bike, you want to snug everything up so that it doesn't move easily, but you do want it to be able to move in case of a crash. Like that doesn't move at all when I try to move it. So you want it tight enough to hold itself in place, but loose enough that in case of a crash, even that's probably still a little tight. So that in case of a crash, which I shouldn't say in case of, inevitably we all seem to fall off of our bikes. It's one of the goofy things we love about it, I guess. We all like to crash, I suppose, but we just want to make sure everything's just tight enough to stay in place again, but not so tight that it breaks on a fall. So we have all that back on. What I'm going to do now is go through and do some more work, get the tires and wheels back on, get the chain in place, run the cables, all that kind of boring type stuff. And next time I see you, it'll be another video, and we will be adjusting derailleurs. I know that sounds fun. I actually enjoy it. It's one of the things I like doing. I like getting those gears just perfect. So I thank you for watching the video. I look forward to seeing you guys out there. Please check out our last video. I'm going to try to put it right here in a square. I don't know if I can. I don't know if my editing's that good. And I'll put a subscribe button. It'll be a nice circle. It's got this logo, Arnold's Mobile Bike Repair. If you click on that, you can go and subscribe to our channel. The more likes and the more subscribers we get, the better it is for us, the easier our videos are to find, and the better it helps us get our name out there. I really appreciate you guys learning how to work on bikes with me. And again, I look forward to seeing you out.